Chapter 37:13. It's my turn. Lin Moyu gazed in the direction of the Blood Mouse realm, which was being consumed by the world-burning fire. Before this fire, everything was reduced to nothing. Any object would be thoroughly incinerated. Even if the world will had left some hidden hand, it wouldn't matter. The difference would only be in how long it took to burn everything. Lin Moyu used the method of
killing with illusions
to refine the entire Blood Mouse realm.
The first step is to find the Heavenly God realm and the Black Blood realm.
The third ancestor furrowed his brow.
Why do we need to find them?
Lin Moyu explained.
The origin calamity wasn't just a struggle between Dao Lords. It was a conquest between world wills. There are countless worlds, and if the origin continent's world will can give birth to spiritual intelligence, other worlds can too. In the past, the origin continent's world will send people to find other worlds, plunder their fate, and devour their great Daos. The Black Blood realm and the Heavenly God realm must have done the same. They probably thought the origin continent's world was too strong, so they allied to attack it, wanting to divide the origin continent. But they failed. I suspect they were severely damaged and are now afraid of the origin continent's world coming to retaliate, so they fled. They are weaker than the origin continent's world will. Before we overthrow this world, we can fight them first to see if there are any weaknesses in the world that we can exploit. Knowing ourselves and our enemies can increase our chances of victory.
The third ancestor said.
But how do we find them in the vast soul void? We need to search not just in the soul void but also in the real world, as the final battle might erupt there.
Lin Moyu replied.
The Black Blood realm should have escaped the Golden Furnace small spirit domain. I happen to know the direction they fled in, and I'll follow it to find them. If you have time, you can search around the real world. Although there's a correspondence between the real world and the soul void, it's not absolute. If I find them, I'll find a way to locate them and notify you. However, before my fate is fulfilled, my physical body cannot leave the origin continent. As for the Heavenly God realm, it depends on luck. I'll do my best to find them, but I can't guarantee success.
The others nodded in agreement with Lin Moyu's plan. The third ancestor said,
If the Heavenly God realm and the Black Blood realm have truly fled, the several affiliated worlds they brought with them will be in trouble. These worlds are mostly not far from the origin continent. We can go look for them. After Lin Moyu completes his fate, we can go to the real world together to see what differences there are.
Lin Moyu's method of
killing with illusions
was correct, but the true battle would certainly be in the real world. The world will of the origin continent was different from that of the Blood Mouse realm. It was unknown how many times stronger it was. Even a single clone could erase the world will of the Blood Mouse realm. Lin Moyu and the other Dao Lords' physical bodies were also in the real world, so this battle had to be fought there. The world-burning fire had burned for an entire month, finally coming to an end. The entire world was refined, and the Blood Mouse realm ceased to exist. Every blade of grass, every stone, was refined into ash, forming a crystal-clear world crystal. This world crystal was more pure and powerful, containing immense great Dao power. If absorbed completely, it would significantly strengthen the multiverse. Lin Moyu collected the world crystal and distributed many soul crystals to the third ancestor and others.
These soul crystals can be used for cultivation, and the effect is quite good. You all know that even among Dao Lords, there are differences in strength. For the future, even if it's just a slight increase in power, it's beneficial.
The others didn't hesitate to accept the soul crystals. The third ancestor chuckled.
Your fire is indeed magical. I'm truly envious.
Lin Moyu said.
If you want some, I can give you a bit.
The third ancestor hastily declined.
No need. I couldn't handle the cause and effect brought by the world-burning fire. If I took some, I might die soon.
In his view, such terrifying flames could only be handled by someone like the green-robed old man. The group returned to the origin continent, keeping their conversation strictly confidential and revealing nothing. After returning, each person had their own tasks. They no longer focused solely on the struggle for great Daos. They had higher goals. Before achieving this goal, the struggle for great Daos needed to be controlled. Too much wasn't necessarily beneficial. The world wouldn't allow the emergence of a true great Dao controller. It wouldn't permit anyone to escape its control. Lin Moyu also had his own task, to further enhance his cultivation, at least reaching the first-tier soul. His time was tight, he couldn't waste it.
I don't know if this will allow me to advance to the first-tier soul, but even if not, I must reach the high stage of the second-tier soul.
Lin Moyu had plans in his mind. If he advanced to the high stage of the second-tier soul, the Skeleton King would at least reach the first-tier soul. 10,000 first-tier soul Great Dao Realm Skeleton Kings, though still inferior to Dao Lords, would be enough to give them headaches. With the help of the advancing undead army and the strengthened world-burning fire, he would have the chance to kill a Dao Lord. It was just a matter of time. He could wear them down. This way, his options would increase significantly. When encountering worlds guarded by Dao Lords, he could possibly kill them outright. For Dao Lords, they only needed to justify their actions to themselves. Kindness and righteousness didn't exist. The group separated outside the origin continent, returning at intervals to avoid arousing the suspicion of the world will. Actually, the Blood Mouse realm had already alerted the world will, but Lin Moyu had disguised it as the work of a small spirit domain king. However, Lin Moyu couldn't guarantee that the world will wouldn't suspect him, so he had to be cautious.
It's truly delightful to fight against heaven.
Lin Moyu chuckled to himself as he returned to his soul world. After waiting for a moment without any unusual feelings, he felt relieved.
It seems my previous actions were effective, and I didn't arouse the suspicion of the world will.
He directly entered the multiverse and gave the world crystal to it. The small world crystal contained the fundamental core power of an entire world. Although the Blood Mouse realm was weak by comparison, it was still very strong for the newly grown multiverse. Its essence was enough to nourish the multiverse. The multiverse grew stronger at a noticeable speed, which Lin Moyu could clearly feel.
A single Blood Mouse realm world crystal saved the multiverse 1,000,000 years of time. Although 1,000,000 years might not be significant for a world, it's too long for me.
A single world crystal allowed the multiverse to skip 1,000,000 years of growth, significantly boosting its strength. Lin Moyu took out many soul crystals.
Now it's my turn.
Chapter 37:14. The first step, transcending the origin continent. Lin Moyu took a deep breath and began to refine and absorb the soul crystals. This time he gained a lot, with tens of thousands of soul crystals sufficient for his cultivation needs. Lin Moyu absorbed them with relish, and his cultivation realm began to slowly rise. Currently, the bottleneck limiting Lin Moyu was the multiverse. As long as the multiverse grew stronger, his upper limit could also increase. A single world crystal allowed the multiverse to save 1,000,000 years of evolutionary time, also significantly boosting Lin Moyu's realm. After absorbing nearly 100,000 soul crystals, Lin Moyu's realm advanced to the high stage of the second-tier soul but didn't break through to the first-tier soul as he had hoped. Lin Moyu wasn't disappointed. This outcome was within his expectations. It wasn't the best scenario, but it was better than the worst-case scenario.
At least, the undead army has reached the first-tier soul.
He reached the high stage of the second-tier soul.
827.
Just half a step away from the first-tier soul. The undead army collectively broke through to the second-tier soul. The skeleton generals and dragon riders became first-tier souls at the initial stage, while the skeleton king was slightly stronger, barely reaching the middle stage of the first-tier soul. Lin Moyu was very satisfied with the changes in the undead army. With such an army, he could sweep through the heavens outside the world, not in the soul void, but in the real world. Even if he couldn't defeat a Dao Lord, he could at least hold them back. A first-tier soul Great Dao realm was not as strong as a Dao Lord, but the difference wasn't as great. With a numerical advantage, they could win a battle. Lin Moyu looked at the yin-yang origin in the multiverse and saw an object forming.
It's nurturing life.
He understood this instinctively. The yin-yang origin on the origin continent could nurture life, and his own yin-yang origin could do the same. However, this nurturing process was very slow, taking tens of millions of years. Lin Moyu felt it quietly and couldn't help but smile. He could accelerate this process and control its direction. He was the master of the multiverse, but he wasn't the world will. His existence was more advanced than the world will. Perhaps one day the multiverse would give birth to its own world will, and every small and large multiverse would have its own world will. However, these world wills would all be under his control. He could decide the birth and death of each world with a single thought, possessing supreme authority. This included manipulating the yin-yang origin to nurture life, including its form, attributes, and abilities. Anything that existed in the multiverse, he could freely bestow. Currently, the multiverse was evolving with millions of great Daos, gradually perfecting them. Lin Moyu thought for a moment and decided not to interfere with these evolving great Daos. He moved his thoughts, sending all his knowledge of formations into the being nurtured. This being was like an empty shell, but Lin Moyu filled it with vast knowledge, making it no longer empty. A new great Tao emerged, corresponding to this newly nurtured being. Lin Moyu integrated his understanding of formations into the multiverse, creating a formation great Tao carried by the being nurtured from the yin-yang origin. He hadn't learned the formation great Tao from the origin continent. All his understanding of formations and divine runes came from his own insights, unrelated to the origin continent. If there was any connection, Lin Moyu followed some rules of formations which came from the formation great Tao in the origin ancestral land, not the origin continent. The formation great Tao in the origin ancestral land had entered the returning origin land, reflecting across all heavens and worlds, usable anywhere. At this moment, Lin Moyu merged the formation great Tao into the being nurtured in his world, further evolving it during the nurturing process to make it his own formation great Tao. In Lin Moyu's vision, his multiverse should be different from the origin continent and not just a member of the multiverse under the reflection of the origin ancestral land's rules. It should have its own great Daos, its own rules, and eventually become an existence on the same level as the origin ancestral land. This was Lin Moyu's ambition. He had high hopes for the multiverse and believed he could truly transcend it. Not just transcend the origin continent, but transcend the origin ancestral land. He vividly remembered the immortality great Tao he had comprehended in the returning origin land. Outside of it, there was no information about the immortality great Tao. Throughout the heavens, only he could comprehend the immortality great Tao, which already showed its uniqueness. He also didn't exist within the destiny great Tao, possessing the catastrophic scepter feared even by the time spirit. From this, Lin Moyu knew his existence was special. Since so, he had to achieve something special. Transcendence was layered, and Lin Moyu was well aware that no matter how grand his ideals were, he had to take it one step at a time. His first step was to transcend the origin continent. This would inevitably lead to a great war with the world will of the origin continent. Victory meant life. Defeat meant death. This path had never been walked before. It was extremely difficult, but Lin Moyu knew it was the path he must take. He couldn't retreat. This time, Lin Moyu didn't return to the origin continent. Through the thread of consciousness he left on the origin continent, he knew everything that had happened recently. The origin continent was currently very peaceful. Since he established the rules last time, no one dared to create chaos in the heavens outside the world. It seemed that the people there had become much more obedient, but Lin Moyu knew things wouldn't be that simple. Those guys wouldn't give up. The protective Tao fortresses still floated above the origin continent, not descending again. However, someone had entered the protective Tao fortresses and was doing something. Hundreds of protective Tao fortresses were already damaged, and even if they wanted to repair them, it wouldn't be a simple task. Lin Moyu wasn't concerned. The protective Tao fortresses were useless to him. Let them do as they pleased. After checking the evolutionary progress of the multiverse, Lin Moyu re-entered the 5.7 virtual interface. He still needed to find suitable worlds to obtain world crystals, which would accelerate the evolution of the multiverse. In a few hundred years, his fate would end, and he would enter the heavens outside the world with Antares to cause trouble for the dragon race. He would also face Withering and Flourishing Elder and the guys from the Hell Alliance in a fierce battle. At that time, the heavens outside the world would be filled with blood. Antares, who was in a state of suspended animation, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Lin Moyu's physical body.
He's gone again, and he's grown stronger. Next time he returns, he should become a first-tier soul, or maybe even further, becoming a Tao Lord. He's really done what he promised. You dragon guys, wait for me. I won't let you off.
Chapter 37:15. Imitating the innate void treasures. After returning, the third ancestor and others soon left the origin continent, entering the world mist and disappearing. Tao Lords needed to engage in the Great Tao struggle, which wasn't limited to the soul void but could also occur in the real world. Many Tao Lords preferred to conduct Great Tao struggles in the real world. This way, they couldn't avoid clashes with virtual beasts, but it seemed safer. However, they would have to face real-world battles. In the soul void, one might fight alone, but in the real world, opponents would deploy multiple Tao Lords, making it more difficult. Whether in the real world or the soul void, the Great Tao struggle was extremely dangerous yet necessary for Tao Lords to strengthen themselves. Therefore, it was normal for Tao Lords to leave the origin continent without arousing suspicion. Only the third ancestor and a few others knew what they were doing. They wouldn't return for a while as they sought suitable worlds not for Great Tao struggles but for marking and locating. The real world and the soul void had a certain correspondence. After finding the coordinates in the real world, they could enter the soul void to locate them, making it easier to find those worlds next time. They needed to cooperate with Lin Moyu to have a chance to overthrow the world will of the origin continent. They knew their task was difficult, but they had to do it. Otherwise, they would become puppets of the world will. Over the past few hundred years, Lin Moyu had treated the soul void as his home. This was his cultivation sanctuary. If not for the limitations of the multiverse, he would have already broken through to the high stage of the first-tier soul, even becoming a Tao Lord. If so, he would be the youngest Tao Lord on the origin continent, an existence more heaven-defying than the former world's sun. However, Lin Moyu was clear that he couldn't become a Tao Lord. Once he did, he would have to merge with the Great Tao and ultimately be controlled by the world will. At that point, it would be harder to deal with him. So, he not only couldn't become a Tao Lord but also needed to abandon some Great Taos at times. For example, the Space Great Tao, the Fate Great Tao, and the Thousand Stars Great Tao. These three Great Taos hadn't entered the returning origin land and were less influenced by the origin ancestral land, more subject to the world will. Therefore, at certain times, he needed to discard these Great Taos. But directly giving them up would be a waste. Lin Moyu was thinking of a way. The best method was to give these Great Taos to his multiverse. However, these Great Taos contained the world will of the origin continent. Before transferring them to the multiverse, he needed to erase the origin continent's world will. Otherwise, his multiverse would be exposed, and the war would be premature, which he couldn't handle yet. Wanting to do this silently was very difficult, and Lin Moyu hadn't thought of a suitable method, so he hadn't acted. Lin Moyu sat on Little Python, pondering various issues. Little Python moved in the direction Lin Moyu pointed. Currently, they were flying in the direction the Black Blood Realm had escaped. Lin Moyu was about 80% sure that the Black Blood Realm had left the Golden Furnace Great Soul Domain. The Golden Lion Tao Lord had given him the Causality Crystal, which could be used 10 times to roughly indicate the direction. The Black Blood Realm and Lin Moyu had been entangled since the Great World, and this karma needed to be settled. Perhaps this time he could try to establish friendly contact with the Black Blood Realm. Before facing the world will of the origin continent, practicing on the Black Blood Realm's world will wouldn't be bad. Actually, the Heavenly God Realm was a better choice in Lin Moyu's view. It was easier to deal with than the Black Blood Realm. However, the Heavenly God Realm's whereabouts were unknown, making it hard to find for the time being. With Little Python as his mount, Lin Moyu thought about some problems. He wanted to use divine runes to erase the traces of the origin continent from the Space Great Tao, the Thousand Stars Great Tao, and the Fate Great Tao, making them truly his own Great Taos. The most difficult part was the fate Great Tao. He knew his fate was prosperous, accumulated from receiving Great Tao rewards and planning. However, this fate belonged to the origin continent, not him. The fate was filled with the origin continent's traces. If the world will wanted to reclaim it, he would be powerless. The former world's son was like this. He carried more than half of the origin continent's fate, but it was taken away. Only by erasing the origin continent's traces could he truly own this fate. Fate was crucial for a world, and the origin continent needed vast fate, so he wouldn't let it flow out. Little Python suddenly stopped and said to Lin Moyu,
"Master, something's happening ahead."
Before Little Python spoke, Lin Moyu had already sensed the problem. Severe energy fluctuations were like waves crashing forward, indicating a massive battle ahead. In front was the world of Golden Lion Dao Friend, and Lin Moyu said,
"Let's go take a look."
Golden Lion Dao Friend was almost a half-friend, and if he could help, he should. Little Python flew over, and with the undead eye open, Lin Moyu saw the situation from afar. Golden Lion Dao Friend and several others were fighting against people. There were 12 people on Golden Lion Dao Friend's side, all similar in appearance but different in color. They were fighting 16 Dao Lords, who looked human but had 300 four-armed appendages, making them fierce and gaining the upper hand. Golden Lion Dao Friend's group hadn't retreated into their world. They didn't want to draw the enemy into their world. If the battle erupted inside, it would harm innocent people. Lin Moyu observed that the 16 people's realm was similar to Golden Lion Dao Friend's group, and their strength wasn't much greater. They were able to gain the upper hand because of the treasures they held. Among the 16, one person held a treasure, standing at the outermost position, controlling the battlefield with it. Each held a pagoda that could suppress Golden Lion Dao Friend's group strength, weakening it by at least 10%. This advantage, combined with being outnumbered, put Golden Lion Dao Friend's group at a disadvantage. Lin Moyu found it interesting and produced a pagoda in his hand, similar to the ones the opponents held. His pagoda was called the Jinshu Tower, obtained after the tidal storm, and its function was to suppress enemies, weakening their strength. The opponent's pagodas were clearly imitations of the Jinshu Tower.
Imitating innate void treasures is quite interesting.
Lin Moyu had never seen imitations of void treasures before and was intrigued. He pointed his finger, and the Jinshu Tower flew out, unleashing a massive force that swept through the void, affecting everyone's souls. Chapter 37:16. What a pity. Lin Moyu used the power of the genuine primordial virtual treasure to suppress the replicas. At this moment, everyone's power was suppressed, weakened by about 20%. Lin Moyu hadn't used the void suppression pagoda much before, and he couldn't help but smile.
This thing seems quite useful.
Lin Moyu's sudden intervention made the entire battlefield pause. The Golden Lion Dao Lord looked surprised.
Lin Dao Friend.
Lin Moyu gave him an impression of being unfathomable. Even though Lin Moyu's realm wasn't particularly high, he had exchanged materials with the Golden Lion Dao Lord, and they had some friendship. Facing danger, they were already feeling pressured, and they didn't expect Lin Moyu to appear suddenly. Lin Moyu asked,
Golden Lion Dao Friend, who are these people?
The Golden Lion Dao Lord replied,
They are Dao Lords from the Four-Armed Realm.
Without entering a world, they weren't affected by the world will, allowing them to communicate directly outside, which resolved many troubles. Lin Moyu whispered,
The Four-Armed Realm? I've never heard of it.
In the vast multiverse, Lin Moyu knew very little. Indeed, he had never heard of the Four-Armed Realm. The 16 Dao Lords from the Four-Armed Realm included 3 original Dao Lords and 13 branch Dao Lords, comparable to the Broken God Realm. With his current realm, Lin Moyu didn't need to fear them. The Four-Armed Realm Dao Lords gazed at the Void Suppression Pagoda with caution in their eyes.
You are a cultivator of the human race?
Lin Moyu nodded.
Is there a problem?
A Four-Armed Realm Dao Lord whispered.
We are engaged in a great Dao contest. You are not a Dao Lord. It's best not to interfere, lest you bring disaster to your own world.
Another person shouted.
Quickly retreat! Today, we won't bother you. If you don't leave, we'll kill you directly.
Lin Moyu, only at the second-tier soul level, wasn't taken seriously by these Tao Lords. However, they seemed to have some reservations because they noticed that Lin Moyu held what appeared to be a genuine primordial virtual treasure. Lin Moyu's ability to manipulate a primordial virtual treasure left them puzzled, so they hesitated to act. Instead, they decided to focus on the Golden Lion Tao Lord and his companions. Lin Moyu shook his head.
Sorry, Golden Lion Tao Lord is my friend. Friends should help each other.
Lin Moyu pointed his finger, and the suppressive power of the Void Suppression Pagoda fell upon several of the four-armed realms Tao Lords. The Golden Lion Tao Lord and his companions were no longer affected. Their strength recovered, while their opponents was suppressed. The four-armed realms Tao Lords changed their expressions, exchanged glances, and surprisingly chose to retreat. They left quickly, without any delay. This left Lin Moyu somewhat surprised. He had expected the four-armed realms Tao Lords to attack him. After all, he was only at the second-tier soul level and not particularly strong. Even with the Void Suppression Pagoda, it shouldn't have been enough to scare off these Tao Lords.
Miscalculation.
Lin Moyu felt a bit helpless. If he had known they would react this way, he wouldn't have used the Void Suppression Pagoda. Seeing the four-armed realms Tao Lords retreat, the Golden Lion Tao Lord sighed in relief.
Thank you, Lin Tao friend. You seem a bit disappointed?
He noticed Lin Moyu's expression, seemingly disappointed that they had left. Lin Moyu said,
Indeed, I was hoping they would attack me. That way, I would have had a reason to kill them.
The Golden Lion Tao Lord and his companions exchanged glances. If anyone else had said this, they would have laughed it off. But when Lin Moyu said it, it seemed normal.
What a pity!
Lin Moyu sighed and changed the subject.
Golden Lion Tao friend, your world has been discovered by them. Even if they retreat today, they will come back another day. What do you plan to do?
The Golden Lion Tao Lord whispered.
We plan to relocate our world. Although we're not afraid of them, we don't want to invite trouble.
Lin Moyu said,
Relocating the world is a good choice, but it's not a foolproof plan. Clearly, you can't defeat them, but you still want to save face. I won't expose you.
The Golden Lion Tao Lord whispered.
Don't hide it from Lin Tao friend. We've had this idea for a while, but our injuries hadn't healed. The preparations are ready. We can move at any time.
Lin Moyu knew that his spirit flower had helped these Tao Lords recover from their injuries.
If so, then I wish you all the best.
The Golden Lion Tao Lord smiled.
You go prepare. I'll have a word with Lin Tao friend alone.
The other Tao Lords behind him immediately returned to their world to prepare. The Golden Lion Tao Lord whispered.
Although these four-armed realm fellows retreated today, they are vengeful and will surely retaliate. Lin Tao friend, be careful when you're alone.
Lin Moyu nodded.
Thank you, Golden Lion Tao friend, for the warning. I'll be careful.
The Golden Lion Tao Lord took out an object.
This material was obtained by chance and isn't from my realm. I've studied it for countless years without success. Today, I'll give it to Lin Tao friend.
Lin Moyu received it. It was a triangular piece, seemingly a fragment of something. The cut was smooth, clearly made by a sharp blade. It was slightly larger than an adult's head and emitted a special aura. It didn't feel particularly strong but carried an indescribable nobility, as if superior. Lin Moyu furrowed his brow. This aura seemed familiar. After a moment's thought, he remembered where he had encountered it before. In the small house behind the discernment beast, there was a similar aura. Lin Moyu put it away.
Thank you, Golden Lion Tao friend. I won't be polite.
The Golden Lion Tao Lord nodded.
Then I'll take my leave. Perhaps we'll meet again someday.
The Golden Lion Tao Lord returned to his world. A moment later, the world in Lin Moyu's eyes shrank to about 1/10 of its normal size. The entire world emitted a large amount of chaotic mist, disguising itself before disappearing from view. The Golden Lion Tao Lord's world was gone, and in the vast soul void, perhaps they would never meet again. People come and go in life, and such encounters are common. Lin Moyu gestured for Little Python to proceed. In the soul void, Lin Moyu played with the triangular piece in his hand. The material was of a virtual type, but Lin Moyu didn't recognize it specifically. However, he had a feeling that this material was of an extremely high level and could exist even in the real world. It was a top-grade material. The edges of the triangle were smooth as a mirror, undoubtedly cut by a sharp blade. He tried to cut it open using the Skeleton King's bone sword but failed. The Skeleton King's bone sword was sharp and sturdy, yet it couldn't cut through the small triangle. Since the bone sword didn't work, Lin Moyu decided to use the Catastrophic Scepter. He carefully tapped it with the Catastrophic Scepter, producing a clear sound. Lin Moyu didn't dare use much force, fearing he might damage it. After tapping it carefully several times, he finally split the small triangle in two. Although he didn't use much force, the fact that the Catastrophic Scepter required several taps to split the triangle showed that the material's level was astonishing. After all, the Catastrophic Scepter could crush a small Spirit Domain King with a single strike, and it would likely be similar for a Dao Lord. The triangle was now in two pieces. Lin Moyu put one piece away and held the other in his palm. He moved his mind, and the undying fire ignited, summoning the elemental net demon. Chapter 37:17. My favorite is being unreasonable. Summoning an elemental lich didn't require much material, just a small piece. This unknown material was of a high level, and it wasn't clear which treasure it was cut from. Using it all to summon an elemental lich seemed wasteful. So, Lin Moyu decided to split it in half and use only one part for the summoning.
I wonder if it will work.
The undying fire burned fiercely, but there was no reaction from the material. However, the flame didn't extinguish either. Lin Moyu had experience with this. The material's level was too high, requiring time to gradually refine. The more challenging it was, the more Lin Moyu was excited. He thought that summoning an elemental lich with this material would result in something very powerful. This power wasn't just about combat ability but also the great Tao it could carry. The elemental lich ritual was significant, not only for fighting but also for carrying great Taos and enriching the Great Thousand Worlds. Many great Taos in the Great Thousand Worlds were brought by elemental liches. For example, the Destiny Great Tao was even now evolving into a path that the Buddhist race could cultivate, thanks to the Buddhist realm lich. Reflecting on his past understanding, Lin Moyu felt he had made the right choice. One person couldn't comprehend all great Taos, but various materials corresponding to each great Tao would be produced. These materials contained the essence of the great Taos. The role of elemental liches was to transform these materials into great Taos. Otherwise, the Great Thousand Worlds would always have deficiencies. This time, Lin Moyu was eager to see the power of the great Tao contained within this unknown material. He also wondered who could have cut this material and from which treasure it originally came. Thinking back to the scene of a shattered palace, he wondered if this material was from there. As the material softened and began to melt in the undying fire, Lin Moyu knew the elemental lich was about to take shape.
Master, there's someone ahead.
Little Python suddenly called out. Lin Moyu had already sensed it.
It's fine, let's go.
Little Python was now close to the second-tier soul level with extremely sensitive perception. Moreover, the opponent hadn't concealed their presence, so Little Python could sense them clearly. As for Lin Moyu, his soul sensitivity was comparable to that of a great Tao Lord. He not only sensed that there were people ahead but also knew who they were, 3 great Tao Lords from the Four-Armed Tribe. The Four-Armed Tribe might not be their actual name but was given because they had 4 arms. Different racial worlds didn't communicate easily, so names were often given from an outsider's perspective. The chaotic mist dispersed, revealing the 3 great Tao Lords of the Four-Armed Tribe. Little Python slowed down. Lin Moyu's expression carried a hint of a smile.
Is there something?
It seemed as though he had been waiting for them to come. Earlier, when they retreated, Lin Moyu felt it was a pity. When he parted ways with the Golden Lion Great Tao Lord, he had thought that perhaps the Four-Armed Tribe's Great Tao Lords would intercept him. After all, Their gaze at the Void Suppression Pagoda had been filled with greed. They wanted the Void Suppression Pagoda and had even replicated it. They had retreated only because the Golden Lion Great Tao Lord was present. This showed that the Four-Armed Tribe was both greedy and cautious. One of the Four-Armed Tribe's Great Tao Lords spoke softly.
How should we address you, human Great Tao Lord friend?
Lin Moyu replied.
According to our human customs, when asking someone's name, you should introduce yourself first.
The Four-Armed Tribe Great Tao Lord's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a smile similar to a human's.
You humans have a saying that a name is just a title. You can call me Sijio.
Siju? This was a strange name, but perhaps he was from the Four-Armed Tribe and ninth in line, hence the name Sijio. It didn't matter why he was named so. Lin Moyu said,
It seems you know a lot, even about human sayings. I'm Lin, and I'm curious, where did the human Great Tao Lord you met come from?
Siju replied.
That was a human Great Tao Lord. As for where they came from, we're not sure. We learned some things about humans from them. Your human race is a major one, dominant in many worlds.
Lin Moyu said.
Speak, why are you waiting for me here?
Sijio said.
We want to make a deal with Lin Great Tao Lord. We want the Void Suppression Pagoda in your possession.
As expected, they had come for the Void Suppression Pagoda. This item wasn't indispensable to Lin Moyu, but if they wanted it, they would have to offer something he needed. Lin Moyu asked,
What do you plan to offer in exchange?
Sijio said,
We plan to use Lin Great Tao Lord's life in exchange.
Lin Moyu's eyes sparkled with light.
You plan to use my life to exchange for my thing?
Sijio said,
That's right. If Lin Great Tao Lord hands over the Void Suppression Pagoda, we won't trouble you. Otherwise, we'll have to leave you here.
Lin Moyu laughed, laughing very happily. He had received a satisfying answer. If they had approached him politely and sincerely, he would have been more courteous. But now he didn't need to be polite. Sijio was puzzled, not understanding why Lin Moyu was laughing. Although he had a head similar to a human, he completely didn't grasp human logic. Lin Moyu said,
Actually, I still like to talk about principles. Like with the Golden Lion Great Tao Lord, although we can't be called friends, we are at least transaction partners. We each take what we need, and when they're in trouble, I don't hesitate to lend a hand. But what I like most is encountering unreasonable people. That way, I don't need to be reasonable either.
As he spoke, he lightly flicked his finger, and a small, insignificant flame floated out. Sijio's face changed. He felt extreme danger. But he was too late. The flame exploded into a sea of fire, engulfing the three Great Tao Lords of the Four-Armed Tribe. Cries of pain came from the fire, and the three simultaneously let out a massive Great Tao Lord's pressure to try and extinguish the world-burning fire. However, the world-burning fire wasn't so easily suppressed, and this was just Lin Moyu's opening move. The void-sealing divine rune flew out, releasing the fierce beasts trapped within. The Thousand Paths formation unfolded, covering the three Great Tao Lords. The power of the Great Tao erupted, creating layer upon layer of anomaly regions, each like a vacuum belt in the soul void, filled with extreme danger. Behind Lin Moyu, flames burned fiercely as the Skeleton King's throne appeared, and the Skeleton King emerged. This time, Lin Moyu deployed 3,000 Skeleton Kings, not a large number, but each Great Tao Lord faced 1,000. The Skeleton Kings were at the mid-stage of the first-tier soul, no match for Great Tao Lords, but the numerical difference, combined with the Thousand Paths formation and the world-burning fire's assault, was enough to compensate for the quality difference. The Skeleton Kings rushed into the formation, quickly isolating and killing the three Great Tao Lords of the Four-Armed Tribe. Lin Moyu declared loudly,
Your companions should be arriving soon.